Move away from my car,
Let
Tanisha.
me tell you something. Let me tell you.
Let me see your hands. Get on the ground. Put your hands down. Radio, I got one at gunpoint. Let me see your hands. Do not move. You understand me?
I'm not gonna move.
Do not move.
I'm not.
I got you covered. I got you. Do not move.
I'm not gonna move.
I got you covered. Somebody treat her, please. See what's going on. See if she's got a pulse.
A parking lot. Wells Fargo Bank, Alpharetta, Georgia. Broad daylight. A woman walks toward an ATM. She doesn't look scared. She does not appear to be fleeing something. She appears like a banker who is going to bank. Somewhere around it there is a phone recording, not a security camera, no outsider who accidentally overhears something. The man who is shooting her is fully aware of what is going to occur. It is he who invited her to this place. Tynesha Evans, 45 years old, mother of 4, healthcare worker, published author. Spending time in a bank parking lot, and she believed that it was a fast errand. She was not aware that she was being taped. She did not think that this footage would serve as evidence. She was not even thinking that she would be dead in less than 60 seconds. This is case file 0047. The most frequent question that comes to the mind of the majority is, who killed Tynesha Evans? That's the wrong question. Her murderer was standing next to her. He invited her family out on holidays. He sent her kids money. He drove her to therapy. The right question is, how long has this been planned till it seemed to be an accident? 911 dispatch. The voice of a man, loving, directing. Milton Avenue and Academy Street. At Wells Fargo, a woman has been shot in the parking lot. A black man wearing an orange shirt, long sleeve, blue vest. Officers arrive fast. He discovers him standing above her body, not running, not hiding, just standing there, phone in hand, like he was waiting for a ride. Let me see your hands. Get on the ground. He complies. No resistance, no panic. I'm not going to move. No, he wasn't. He had already done whatever it was that he had come to do, and he was not going to move. Think about that for a second. One man kills a woman in full view of people in a bank parking lot by shooting her in the head. Witnesses everywhere, ATMs rolling, and he doesn't run.
You were parked here? I was going to use the ATM. She was arguing with the man.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Calm down just a minute. Okay. She was there with the man.
Yeah.
And?
I think she sniped the phone from him.
Uh-huh.
And he just...
Okay. All right. Perfect.
They're working on her, okay? So
She's going to be okay, right?
we hope so. All right, okay, we hope so. They're going to take.
Thank you, Lord.
They're taking her to the hospital, okay, right now. So
They got the man, right?
we did.
He stays. He makes a phone call. Not to 911, to his sister. He did not want his elderly 82-year-old mother to know it before she saw it on the news. That's not panic. That's a checklist. Tynesha Evans was a single mother who had 4 children. She was a full-time worker in the healthcare field. She also wrote books on the side, family, love, relationships. That is what her daughter said, clearly. So much love and respect she put in me. That morning, Tanisha just told her children that she was going to the bank before she walked out of the house. This was the final word she ever said to them. The detained man was 58-year-old Othniel. Neil to his acquaintances. He wasn't a stranger. He had been the on and off boyfriend of Tanisha over a period of close to 3 years. In 2016, they got acquainted as a result of working as bus drivers with the Fulton County School District. And when Tanisha family discovered that it was Neil who shot Tanisha, it came as a blind street. Not angry at first, stunned. Since Neil was not a person to be feared, he was someone they trusted. He was playing father to the children of Tanisha. He sent them money. He showed up. Her son told her he did it basically like his children, The same week he sent me money, and then he took the life of my mother. It is like that with proximity. There is no need to be broken in by the people nearest to you. They already have the key. And in the event that you are tracking these case files along and wish to continue reading them as we publish them, you know what to do. No pressure, just stay close. The next file opens soon. Neil was seated with detectives at the station, calm, controlled. He told them his version. According to him, the relationship was deteriorating. Tanisha continued accusing him of being a cheater. In his opinion, it was a regular occurrence, unfounded accusations, mistrust, obsessive-compulsive behavior. He replied that he had attempted suicide. He replied that he had told her not to contact him anymore. However, that morning he had accepted to meet her at Wells Fargo. Why? Tanisha was undergoing eviction. She needed $380 for rent. And after all, Neil claimed to love her and could not see her in distress. So he went to the bank, withdrew the cash, sent her a text to meet him at 11:30. She showed up. He gave her the money. And then, as Neil says, instead of thanksgiving, charges. She challenged him on a woman she alleged she had evidence that he was dating. A photo from a Dunkin' Donuts. It is claimed that he was caught on camera hugging and kissing another woman. Neil said he tried to leave, tried to get in his car, but Tanisha stood in his way with her body, wouldn't let him go. It is at that moment that he began recording.
The footage exists. Neil recorded it himself, and it does depict Tanisha to confront him, violent, noisy, insisting on responses on a photo. You hear her voice. You nothing to say about the picture? Hugging and kissing on her, donuts at the school? Move away from my car. You can see her grabbing his phone, a struggle, the phone goes to the ground, and then nothing. Since, here is what is also recorded on the very ending, Tanisha's voice, shoot me, shoot me. One shot, straight to the forehead. She collapsed on the pavement dead before it struck the pavement. Neil did not say anything, which was not taken seriously by detectives. They dragged the surveillance of that Dunkin' Donuts. The footage was clear. Neil walked in alone, bought coffee and 2 donuts, walked out alone. No woman, no hug, no kiss, nothing. The fact that Tanisha accused her of a thing that did not occur was the accusation which allegedly caused the encounter. But here's the thing, that fact does not work in favor of Neil like he thinks. This is because it does not matter whether the accusation was true or false. The important aspect is that he already had the idea that he was lying when he appeared at that parking lot having a loaded Glock 22 on his hip. He knew she'd be angry, he knew what she'd say, and he came prepared. As investigators continued in their digging, they located 2 previous police reports, not filed by Tanisha, filed by Neil. The first was from 2017. He alleged that Tanisha was stalking him. He contacted dispatch when she was trailing his car. The second report was issued only a month prior to the shooting. Neil replied that he lost his phone following a car argument. He thought Tanisha had it to go and look around. She denied it. He reported it stolen. A few days later, the phone was found on his school bus. Neil was able to give a reason why he never tried to have a restraining order. I did not want to have an influence on her life. She has kids. She has a job. I did not want their lives to be influenced. Considerate. Thoughtful. The detectives wrote it down. They didn't buy it. The daughter of Tanisha also gave a different story to investigators after the shooting. She claimed her mother had talked to her about how Neil dragged her out of a moving car. People who were passing by informed Tanisha to report. She didn't. The same night, Neil is reported to have appeared at her house, banging at the door, threatening her. And there was something else. Tanisha had informed her daughter that she had overheard Neil making disturbing remarks, things she thought she could have interpreted as being sexually inappropriate about her own child. Tanisha challenged him on the same. That is what, according to the daughter, is one of the reasons which drove him out of the home.
So, the portrait of a patient boyfriend who has to survive a vollery of a jealous girlfriend began to crack, painted by Neil. The reality was messier, darker, and on either side of this relationship had been pain that had no refuge which was safe. Comment at this moment, file open, in case you were taking this case. A few of you have already surpassed me, I can tell. After 2 hours, Neil has given his narration twice. He has given the argument, the grabbing of the phone, the firing of the gun. Here, however, is what caught the attention of detectives. 2 hours, not a single tear, not a crack in his voice. No single hour had sloped sorrow through the tranquility. Then Neil put a question that put the room to a halt. And what would I be accused of in case she did not make it? Murder? Not, is she alive? Not, is there any hope? The language of the law was his first reflex. The policeman informed him the truth. She is deceased. Neil's response? Okay. That was it. Okay. Now, individuals interpret shock in a different way. That's real. His words were not all that the detectives were observing. They were watching the math. The story in which Neil was involved contained a physics problem. He told him he pulled the gun to frighten her, not to shoot. He claimed that it was an accident during the struggle that the trigger went off, but the bullet flew in her forehead, straight on, clean. How is it you would shoot her in the forehead by accident? Asked the detective. Well, she was nearly as tall as me, Neil told her, that on drawing the gun, it only fell in her face. The detective insisted, you had to straight point it at her face at that, right? I just pulled it out. I did not make any deliberate decision about a particular part of her body. Think about that. He asserts that the gun has leapt onto her forehead by itself. No aim, no intent, just physics and bad luck. The detectives called louder. You couldn't have had it under your arm? Said the detective. Just said, give me the phone back? I could have done that, but at the same time, I was not imagining that I was to shoot her. He was not even contemplating that he would shoot her, but he brought the gun.
This is what derails all the work Neil had created. Neil did not, in any police report he ever made, Tanisha to be violent. Aggressive, yes. Annoying, sure. But not violent, not dangerous, not armed. He informed detectives himself, none physical violence. Why would he carry a loaded Glock 22 then, however, when he did not consider her a physical threat? And yet he knew that this was to be a confrontational meeting. He had an answer for that too. He claimed that he once gave Tanisha a knife as a precaution when she was going to collect a rideshare company. He told him that he did not know whether she had it on her. A knife he gave her? That she might or might not have had? The fact that he did not report to the police until he shot her in the face. It was not going down with the detectives. The therapist of the couples, Neil and Tanisha, who had been dating, was contacted by detectives. It was a succinct statement by the therapist. There never was the implication that he had any violent disposition, no violent threats, no atmosphere of danger in the room. 2 sessions, this was all that the therapist had observed. 2 hours in a planned setting where everybody is at best behavior. However, this was what the therapist did not know, what occurred in cars, parking lot, and doorways when no one was maintaining notes. When detectives obtained the warrant on the phone belonging to Neil, the conversation between him and Tanisha showed something other than a serene, long-suffering boyfriend he had portrayed himself to be. The messages showed a different face of Neil, who was, according to the detectives, anything but angelic. And the daughter of Tanisha affirmed otherwise. Neil had been accused by her mother of having child pornography. Such an allegation, true or false, had been another crack in an already broken relationship. It gets worse. The daughter indicated that Tanisha heard Neil commenting on her, the daughter, as she was eating. A comment relayed to a friend, sexual in nature, about a child. Tanisha explained to her daughter, but told her not to fight him.
She attempted to save her children and handle a man she already feared alone. We will take a trip around the morning one more time, you see, more slowly. Neil wakes up at 5:30 a.m., does his bus route, gets home, changes, drives to his college campus to drop his courses, cybersecurity, one halfway. He claims that the relationship has killed his concentration. He goes to Dunkin' Donuts alone, buys coffee, returns to campus. Somewhere in the morning, Tanisha sends him a message. She says she has a photo, proof of another woman. Neil texts back, says he's done, says don't contact me anymore, says that he will give her the rent money, but that is all. Then he draws upon himself $380 at the banking, calls and tells her to join him at the Wells Fargo at 11:30. He is holding a loaded handgun. He knows she's angry. He is aware that she thinks he is a cheater. He is aware that this clash is imminent, and he films it. Not for safety, for evidence. The theory given by detectives, Neil was tempting Tanisha into that parking lot as he claimed to assist them with the rent. He knew she'd confront him. He knew she'd be emotional, and he wanted to have that on record, the violent girlfriend, the understanding boyfriend, that when the gunfire was discharged, he would be able to tell a story. The video wasn't a mistake. It was the plan.
Tynesha Evans was killed in a bank lot on a weekday morning. One bullet. No chance of survival. The paramedics performed on her at the scene. Witnesses had been informed that she was going to the hospital. One of them, a woman that had been waiting to use the ATM, insisted on the officer answering, "So she will be okay, right?" The officer said, "We hope so." She wasn't going to be okay. She was already gone. The bullet penetrated through her forehead and passed through. There was no window, no miracle surgery, no parting words said to a nurse in fluorescent light. Tynesha Evans was killed on the ground, in the sun, beside the vehicle of what she believed was the man who was assisting her with her rent. Her 4 children discovered how families always discover, at once too late and too fast. These weren't small kids. They were big enough to know what had taken place, older to recollect every bit about who Neil was in their lives. That's what makes it worse. Neil was not a name that they had heard once or twice. He was the man at the table, the man who texted them, the gentleman who bought me groceries and school supplies that very week. Her son was saying it aloud, and it was like a brick hit you in the head. He basically treated us like his children the very same week he sent me money. And then he took the life of my mother. It is the sentence that lingers in the room after hearing it, not the legal one. That one. The daughter of Tanisha was talking about her mother like you talk about a person who makes you out of nothing. She had planted so much love and respect and all into me, and I would like my children to be so. She was attempting to bear it on. Next generation is already on his or her mind, even before trying to ensure that the chain was not falling, which the chain had lost. The person holding it was gone. Something else her son said that penetrated all the rest was how my mother had taught me how to be a man. Think about that. A single mother, 4 kids, full-time work in the field of healthcare, on the side writing books about love and family, and her son will give her the credit of showing him what it is to be a man rather than any man in his life. And that was who was lost in that parking lot. Not a case number, no statistic of domestic violence. Someone was busy constructing something, raising people, trying to write about what it is to love right. And she was killed by somebody who said he loved her, and he had a loaded weapon in his possession to a tryst he had planned. This story spread in the days following the shooting. News outlets picked it up. It was taken to the next level by social media, and it finally found its way to the actor, Tyler Perry. Perry didn't know Tanisha. He didn't know the family. However, he watched the coverage, and he did something. He paid to have the body of Tanisha transported back home to conduct the funeral.
He covered the rent of the family, the same rent Tanisha had gone to that parking lot attempting to make, and he volunteered to fund the education of one of her daughters. The family started a GoFundMe campaign as well. It surpassed its goal. Messages and money were sent by strangers. Individuals who have never seen Tanisha thought that her children were not expected to add the burden of losing her on top of all other things. However, there is one thing about all this: the donations, the celebrity backing, the community backing. It helps, it matters, but does not fill the chair at the kitchen table. It is not responding to the phone when her daughter calls the number that is not going to be answered again. It does not drag anybody down an aisle. It does not work in a manner of explaining to a grandchild who she was, such that would balance out the fact that these children never knew her. Money keeps the lights on. It doesn't keep a mother alive.
6 years passed. 6 years of trials, outsourcing, and quietness. Tanisha's family waited. Her children were becoming old in that waiting. Birthdays passed, graduations came and went. Each milestone was experienced with the burden of a case yet to be resolved. Thereafter, in 2025, the prosecution took action when Neil had reached the age of 64. They offered a plea deal, and Neil took it. He pleaded guilty on a charge of murdering Tynesha Evans as well as the possession of a gun in the course of a felony. The judge handed down 25 years. No trial, no jury deliberation, no cross-examination, not a moment in which the prosecution presented the lot of those texts, all the police reports, all the frames of that video before a dozen strangers and requested them to name it what it was. The family of Tanisha wanted that trail. They thought that the case was good enough to live. They thought that the jury had to view the face of Neil as the tape was being played, hear Tanisha screaming, "Shoot me," and observe the composure that ensued. They were sure the entire image, which was placed in the open court, would have buried him. However, plea bargains do not work in such a matter. The system computes risk on either side. The prosecution takes the chances of an easy conviction and compares them to the uncertainty of a jury. The possibility of life is pitted against 25 years on the side of defense, and somewhere in between, a figure is negotiated which will meet the law, but not those who are the greatest losers. 25 years. By serving the entire sentence, Neil will be close to 90. He might be off parole, depending on his ability to get on parole. The family of Tanisha almost always said the same thing as other families in these cases. They're grateful. They are happy that Tanisha received justice. They are thankful that the case did not fail. They're grateful it's over. But it is not the same word, grateful and satisfied, and none of them in that family made use of the second. This is what I recall with regard to this case. Neil didn't snap. It is what people want to think, that violence such as this is a product of a particular moment, a flash. Something snaps inside an individual and he or she does something that they would not dare to do on any other day. And yet, that was not what was the case here. Neil woke up at 5:30 that morning, did his bus route, came home, changed clothes, drove to college to drop his courses, went to Dunkin' Donuts, bought coffee, came back, withdrew $380 from the bank, texted Tanisha to meet him at 11:30, buckled a loaded Glock 22 on his body, and drove to the Wells Fargo. That's not a snap, that's a schedule. He knew she'd be angry. He understood that she would complain to him on the photo. He was aware that the dialogue would get out of hand, and he brought a gun to it. Then he pressed record, not to protect himself, not to document abuse, to build an alibi, as a method to portray her in her worst, so that at the time of taking the shot, he could refer to the tape and state, "Look what she made me take." And when Tanisha fell, with a bullet hole in her head, he did not scream, he didn't run, he didn't drop to his knees. The phone she'd knocked off his hand, he picked up and he called. Not to 911, to his sister, simple because he desires to control the story and no one can tell it before him. All this was constructed, layered, patient. And Tanisha's closest people, her kids, her family, the ones who sat at dinner with Neil, never anticipated it. Since Neil was not hanging in the shadows, he was not a new acquaintance in a parking. He was the boyfriend. It was the one who took her to therapy, the sender of the money to the kids. It was not the danger beyond her life. It was inside it, seated in the passenger seat, holding the door open, smiling. This is what happens with such cases. The gunshot does not come at the beginning of the file. It begins months and sometimes years ago, in the little incidences no one notices, the phone stolen, the accusations, the police call that never gets a follow-up, the restraining order that is never filed because I did not wish to interfere in her life. The ultimate document is never the whole reality. However, at other times, the video that the murderer records himself proves to be the closer to the truth than anything that he will ever tell in an interrogator's office. Neil filmed his own crime, and in the last few seconds of the video, you listen to Tanisha once again. That's where this file closes.
In case this case left you thinking of someone in your life who may be close, someone you can rely on, but who made you feel not safe at least once, I want to know about it. Not names, not details, just what you noticed. It was like how the first moment was, the one you had nearly talked yourself out of remembering. Drop it in the comments. Since the following file is open and the trend does not vary. And should this case have prompted you to consider somebody in your life, somebody you trust, somebody that is close to you, even this once, I want to know about it. Not names, not details, just what you noticed, what that moment felt like. Drop it in the comments, since the following file is open and the trend does not vary.